In the hot seat today, well, let me just say first off who should have been, and then let you know who is, who might have been or what's not. First off, today was then scheduled to be having two different ministers of the government, the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport. But the minister at this time, I believe, is having a press conference to speak about matrimony. Yes, after would have also, promising from last week that she was going to be here this week. They scheduled to have their press conference to announce matrimony's route on the very same day that she promised to be on this program at this very same time. So we could not have her there. Fortunately, we were able to make some other arrangements, and it was supposed to be, today's hot seat was supposed to be a battle of the duel between two very known characters in the sporting fraternity. I tried to get Mr. Kejumani Yasin, who is the sixth time elected president of the Ghana Olympic Association. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get him. More recently today, I would have heard that he's in court, so he could not make it. But we tried since last week to get him on, and it was supposed to be in confrontation, I should say, with the current guest, who is none other than Commissioner on the National Sports Commission and journalist and athlete in his own right, none other than Edison Jefford. So without further ado, let me say good afternoon and welcome to the hot seat.
Good afternoon, Stan, and thank you for having me on this esteemed program.
All right, so first off, again, thanks for coming too, and we're dealing primarily with sport and its administration. Let me just jump right out based on what you have heard me say in our introduction. This should have been a conversation that we have with you as a sports commissioner, as well as the president of the Ghana Olympic Association, who unfortunately is not here.
I hope when he attends to your request, you will re-invite me.
Most certainly, because you are in a position, you along with 8 other commissioners are in a position where you can then speak with authority on certain issues, and it's only fair that we have the people who can speak about issues to be a part of the program.
Definitely.
So, but your take over the few months leading up to the Ghana Olympic Association's election, which happened last December. We would have seen some of your writings, both as letters and columns in the media, giving your take, which was highly critical of Mr. Jumani Yasin's return to the presidency for a 6th 4-year term. If you can highlight or encapsulate that, why this stance that you've taken, given what the Ghana Olympic Association would have said would have been outside of the lots of successful stories coming from the GOA under the presidency of Jumani Yasin?
Well, first of all, Stan, it's unfortunate that Mr. Yasin is not here to name those success stories for us. I think these are the public forums that are necessary for public individuals like Mr. Yasin to let us know what is it he has been doing for the past 20 odd years and what has been some of his successes as president of the GOA in those years. I've basically just attempted to put his administration of a very important body in Guyana, responsible for the development of Olympic sports in Guyana under the microscope, a normal practice leading up to any election. And I discussed, in essence, what Mr. Yassin has been doing for those years. And I gave credit where it was due, especially as it relates to him building an Olympic headquarters for Olympic sport in Guyana at Liliandal. It's valued at $300 million. It started in 2009 for the kind of monies that passed through the Guyana Olympic Association. I would imagine that project should have been completed. But that aside, all we have seen from the GOA over the past years is stamped out passports from its officials in trips around the world and medalless Guyanese athletes. I think that status quo has to change.
Well,
nowhere in the world.
When you talk about medalless athletes, is there a breakdown between federations and associations' preparation of athletes who will then be picked up by the GOA to be sent outside? So, as much that you have a situation where, because this association or this federation would have nominated Edison Jefford, the Olympic Association, in all fairness, had to, send that athlete, but that athlete did not necessarily meet the right grade that they're supposed to have.
But before addressing that, Stan, I want to point out quickly, I want to put this in perspective. Edison Jefford didn't start the criticisms of Jumani Yassin. Those criticisms started on social media, where persons who are much more informed now, thanks to social media and other mediums, heavily criticized the GOA's performance last year with a collage of some of Mr. Yassin's trips around the world, and they juxtaposed that with Guyana's performance and more or less demanded results, which they were in their right to do. These athletes, after all, were representing Guyana. With that said, the Olympic Games is a qualification event, meaning persons must qualify. For the past years, we've only been having athletes qualifying for these games. When I say athletes, I mean those from the Athletics Association of Guyana, those people who run and jump and do other field or track events, track and field, right? The breakdown that you speak of is as a direct result of, in my mind, and I wrote about this just last weekend, a pauperized approach, I would say, to sports. And what I mean by that is that you get, if you examine last year, for instance, you get $136 million in grants. This is the GOA for last year alone. You spend only 25% of that grant in an Olympic year on what should have been your main focus. Things like training, programs, competitions, coaching, and these things. Now, this is an Olympic year one, and those areas are your main focus as an Olympic body, and it only gets 25% of your budget for the year. You have things like quote-unquote other, which gets 26%, and you have the other allotments going to all kinds of different areas. And that for me highlights what is the GOA's priority. There's no focus, there's no trust, there's no program to ensure that our athletes get on an Olympic podium. And that for me is where the breakdown occurs. For me it's a lack of leadership.
So what are you or can you do about it? Not in your personal capacity, but in your capacity as a commissioner of the National Sports Commission. What leeway or what authority, if any, does the National Sports Commission have as it relates to inefficiencies, shortcomings, corruptions, whatever you name it, in any organization, sporting organization? In this case, we're speaking about the Ghana Olympic Association.
Well, we have none, and that is to be frankly honest. The GOA, like many other associations, are autonomous bodies. They have
FIFA is autonomous, but of course the USA would have already, and the international police would have already, despite they had issues internally, they would have done their own external investigations and made their own assessments.
Yes, because there are some areas that government and associations cross, and I think those we're examining to see where we can demand more. For instance, one of the things we've done is to ensure that we ask associations to give us their programs for at least 5 years, some at minimum a year if they can't project 5 years. And I can tell you the process from some associations in getting that to us has been very slow, and again it underscores the kind of mediocrity, I would say.
Yeah, but
that
if,
underscores the administration.
If you have no power, then why do we have a sports commission? If it has no power to be able to sanction at least any association or federation that, as you constantly highlighted, are very slothful, or they simply ignore, what is it, basically your white elephant? We're
not. And why we're not is because we have a different function, and our function as government is to ensure we provide, and I'm speaking here as a member of the National Sports Commission, is to ensure we have national teams and ensure that the overall outlook of sports in Guyana is indicative of some kind of development. And I think one of the areas, and you're rightly alluding to an area that I've addressed, is that when you have this type of trust at the macro level, it is very, very important. And I know this is what you're saying, and I'm saying you're absolutely correct. It is important that associations who actually interface with the athletes, who actually do the work, it is important that they're on the same page with you, because what will happen, you will plan at the macro level, and at the grassroots level you will continue to fail, and that failure exposes some type of lack of coordination at the highest level, and that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later.
So I was going to ask you about if financial impropriety is not going to be one of the reasons that you can then, as the governing sport association body in Ghana, the commission, would be able to then deal with associations and federations. But let me just jump from that, because I want to have your take on this just before we take a break and come back. But so basically, from what you're saying, as the government, you invest in all of these. Now, let's give you a scenario. You would have invested, as the government, millions of dollars in talent, and they reached to the level where you as a government believe that based on this talent, because I know, for example, from your sports director, that across the country, through the schools, you're going to have a heavy input in terms of sport.
That's right.
So you put all of this into that. You train athletes from the school, from the primary level in the different sport. They become what you call Olympic material. And you then recommend to the Olympic Association to take the next step forward. And they don't. They don't, right? For whatever reasons, they just don't. What happens to your investment? How do you deal with it?
Well, that is a question that we will have to answer. We have some proposals before us in how we deal with that. I think that is an area that our national sports policy that is due this year will address. I don't want to say too much about that right now because it includes some legal processes, but we are going to address that because we notice a lot of anomalies, and you've identified one, and a similar one is the fact that sometimes we invest in athletes who are going on scholarships, for instance. Now, at the stage we're at, there are no guarantees that these athletes, having funded them on scholarship, will return to serve us in the way that we would like. And therefore we're considering, again, within the framework of our sports policy, having some type of document set up, even if it's an MOU, with athletes to ensure that the training that they're exposed to outside of Guyana is trickled down to Guyana upon their return or when they're on vacation or such, even if it's in the form of clinics, workshops, and representation. Ultimately, it is necessary that we have some type of control that
but what that is saying, what it is
framework.
saying, Edison, is that okay? Anytime penalties are going to happen, penalties and strictures are going to be extended to the athletes, and it means those who run the associations and the federations, they get out scot-free because you're not authorized or within the ambit, as you said, to be able to do them anything or to get involved in their affairs. But you can then penalize the athlete, which again means that it's a great suffering for athletes and the sport that they will be taking up directly.
We can necessarily penalize the athlete because they're not affiliated to us at the Sports Commission. They are affiliated to their respective associations. And how
Yeah, but like you just mentioned, for example, you send someone off on a scholarship, you're looking at situations where you can get back from them. You can have them sign a deal or what's not. Failure to do that obviously means that there are certain penalties that will be incurred.
Correct.
Can't the same be done for the federations and the associations?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, from what you're saying, the only people who seem to suffer are the athletes.
Yes, because and as I said, we have a policy committee that will look at ways in which we can address that issue. As you said, and rightly so, it is an anomaly and is something that we're looking at addressing even as we speak, because something has to be done. But one of the things we have to bear in mind is that the structure under which, for instance, the Guyana Olympic Association operates is one that allows the sport disciplines that are Olympic sports to select the head of the GOA. One of the good things that have managed to come out of these last elections is the fact that a motion was passed to ensure that future presidents only serve for 3 terms. As you said, Mr. Yassin is in his 6th term. Having been
respirated, somebody decide to challenge Alec Cole the way on the national level it was challenged.
from since the 90s, Mr. Yassin has been there, and he continues to get the support of the Olympic sport associations. And so the point is, if there anybody to blame with what we've seen from Guyana and why we continue to not make an impact over the years in sports as our sister Caribbean countries have done, Jamaica, Trinidad, Bahamas, even Grenada, right? you have to blame the associations who continue to show the type of lack of leadership.
But I certainly hope that they're going to be able to find some time to come and respond to you and maybe have a tete-a-tete off with you. But right now, we're going to take a break. We got to pay some bills. And come back in case you just joined us. We're on the hot seat with Edison Jefford, Commissioner at the National Sports Commission, and it's Sport in Focus. Stay with us.